Well, welcome to Martini Time. See, I've got a haircut. Every 2 months I get a haircut. Just cut it all back, let it grow out again. I don't have to shave or anything. It just grows, cut it off, grows, cut it off. So, I wanted to talk about Hamilton today. That came by. Remember Hamilton was that musical that was this backwards, but it's a two CD sounds two CD soundtrack. So it takes quite a while, and I haven't seen the play. I think my daughter saw it when she was on tour, and she got this soundtrack, and we were at New Bern, and we played it on the way back. So if you're going to listen to it, it's really great for a trip where you can listen to it, because it takes 3 hours. It seems like it took the whole trip, and you can really get into the a soundtrack like that, and because you really have to pay attention to this, and it has the words in it, but it's all, as you know, the musical is a rap, and it's still playing. It's the most popular show ever. And he played just the trailer when he started. Just the opening, and he played it for Obama at the White House. And so it's been quite a phenomenon. And when my daughter listened to it, she's heard it before, and she saw the play. And even while we're driving, she's crying while she's listening to it. And I realized too that the play, the overview of the play is that Hamilton was born in the Caribbean and kind of poor, and so he wanted to take his shot. So he goes to New York, and he's got this active living intelligence, and so he gets involved in the revolution and yada yada, and he goes on, and of course the music is speaking in the first person as Hamilton speaks it, and the refrain in the first part. I don't want to waste my shot. I don't want to waste my shot. And of course the irony is that he wasted his shot when he was in the duel with Aaron Burr, and he shot in the air, and Burr shot him. So he wasted his shot. So the irony of it, you see. So anyway, we know the plot. But I guess what I wanted to pull this cotton ball apart a little bit is that why this particular play and the format of it creates such excitement and interest and effect. Because, you can feel it when you're listening to it. There's something going on. And like I said, of course, my daughter went to New York at 17, I think, to make her shot. I'm going to make my shot. I'm going to make my shot. I'm not going to waste my shot. And I got hair itching my neck. and so this whole theme of going to New York, and it's like you got one shot, you don't want to waste it. One life, you don't want to waste it. One shot, you see. Of course, back then, the metaphor of the guns they used, you had one shot. So anyway, so what I realized with Hamilton, today I was writing about metaphor, and as I always do, I apologize. But it's taken me my whole life to understand metaphor. It took Joseph Campbell his whole life to understand it and try to communicate what it is. And I'm still doing it. So I'm going to keep on doing it. Because understanding metaphor awakens the mind. Because it enables you to see ambiguity and transcend ambiguity to a whole, to a new whole. So the metaphor is ambiguous in that a metaphor points in two different directions at the same time. So what I wrote as the title to Hamilton for this talk was Je suis Hamilton. Now remember when in France when they had that first mass shooting at Charlie, the magazine Charlie, and the people were marching and they had signs, Je suis Charlie, I am Charlie, you know, and that's come up many times. Je suis this or that. I am Charlie. That's a metaphor. I am Charlie. I am Hamilton. Je suis Hamilton. I am Hamilton. See, the metaphor of it is that you, in the play, when you listen to the play, even the soundtrack, you are Hamilton speaking Hamilton as he speaks it. You're not listening to, because it's in first person, you're not listening to somebody else tell Hamilton's story. You're not listening to the playwright, the author, tell Hamilton's story, like a documentary, you see, which we're usually used to. This is the objective view. Hamilton's in it, and everyone in the play's in it, and they're telling the story of Hamilton. But you're in the audience, you're not Hamilton. But when the rap, when it's sung in first person, and Hamilton is singing his story with emotion and passion, you see, Je suis Hamilton. When the metaphor clicks, it may not click, but if it clicks, you are Hamilton singing Hamilton as he sings it. But you're not Hamilton. You see the ambiguity? You either see in our logical mind, in our Western objective mind that sees everything as its third person. Everything's an it. He, she, or it. It's a noun. Everything's an it. Even me, I'm an it. I got qualities. I got a profile. You know, I'm a noun. Put all my positives and negatives, you know, I'm an it. And that's the way we see things, you see. First person. Where's first person? Where is I am? I am is the ghost. Science can't find I am. Science can't find consciousness. Science can't find, oh, there's an I am. No, everything's an it in science. Science is the logic of its. If it's not an it, it doesn't exist. So science is the logic of grammar of the third person. Everything is a noun. And you can study it, you can take it apart, you can pin it on the wall, write books about it, become an expert in it. But only the poets know the I am. Only the poets know the I. So the poet would say, in the ecstasy of his poem, Je suis the butterfly. I am the butterfly. The scientist won't say that. No, I'm not the butterfly. I'm the scientist. Let's look at that butterfly. And you can either look at the butterfly in the environment, or you can dissect it and look at it through a microscope. Zoom out, zoom in. Boom. But you don't say, I am the butterfly. But the poet, who's writing first person, will create the metaphor. The poem is the metaphor, in which, when you enter into the poem, you become the butterfly. You feel like you feel the power and the beauty and the wings and the freedom of the butterfly as yourself, you see. So when you listen to Hamilton, Je suis Hamilton. So you feel Hamilton as if you are Hamilton. So that's what I mean by the metaphor. It transcends the it world and brings I into it. So you say then, you feel, you don't say, you don't think, you feel. See, first person is feeling. I feel, I am. But you don't say, you can say, oh, I feel for the butterfly. Oh, no, the butterfly. I feel for you. That's not what we're talking about here. That's kind of like sentimentality, you see. We're talking about identity. So when you go to a play like Hamilton, or for me, Avatar did this to me. Avatar was a metaphor, and when I watched Avatar, I watched it 3 times. Even one time I just listened to it and just wrote down the script. That's very interesting when you write down the words and see the words of the words that are spoken. It gives you a whole different look all of a sudden. So when I watched Avatar, Je suis Jake Sully. Je suis Jake Sully. I am Jake Sully. So when I watch the movie Avatar, I am doing Jake Sully as he does Jake Sully, going through the stages of the butterfly, from the cocoon of the sky people to the Navi, to the merging of the two and the blooming at the end where the Buddha sits up, where he becomes the Buddha. You don't know who he is there. He's just awake. Remember in the ending of Avatar? He goes through the stages of evolution, from the sky people to the Navi, and then he merges the two together and sits up wide awake, you see. Who is that? That's the Buddha. That's the I am awake. And that I am awake is when the first and the third person become one, you see. Oh, Jesus said that. So here we go. Let me bring up, where's my Jesus? Yeah, okay. So here. All right, so Jesus says, when he offers the communion, he says, this is my body, the bread, and the wine. This is my blood. What he's saying is, je suis blood, je suis bread, je suis bread, je suis blood. I am this. Now, this is a metaphor. He's not saying, oh, I am really bread, and I'm really wine. No. But then at the same time, he's saying, I am the bread and I am the wine. Now, you see, the problem we get with that is that we do communion in the church. He's like, well, we remember Jesus. No, that's fine. That's fine. Going to remember Jesus. No, that's fine. But that's not the metaphor. The metaphor is not memorizing something. When you watch Hamilton, you're not remembering Hamilton. You are being Hamilton, as Hamilton is speaking. That's the living metaphor. So when you look at the communion in the Eucharist, and he says, this is my blood, this is my body. That's why I'm a metaphorical martini priest. This is my blood, this is my body, you see. So when Jesus said this, he is creating a metaphor. Now, a metaphor is like art. Now, this is a metaphor. Now, this is a life capsule. This is or a battery. Okay, you take a battery. I don't have my battery here. Take a battery. It contains a positive and negative poles, and it contains it in the form of a battery. So if you pick that battery up, you have available energy to turn on your light. This contains the positive and negative poles of the first and third person. So this contains energy. So if you pick it up and listen to it or go to the play and surrender to it, you can't just sit there and cross your arms and say, oh, that's really interesting. If you're on a dance floor, you go to a reception at a wedding, and you stand back there like that, and all the women are dancing, and you say, well, not yet, I don't have enough liquor, you see. But when you let go and you jump into the dance, you're surrendering to the dance. You're surrendering to the metaphor. So surrendering to the metaphor in art and religion is metaphor, spiritual metaphors. So when you surrender to the metaphor, the spiritual metaphor, you participate in the energy that the artist put into it. So when you make a battery, you put the power into the battery, and it's stored there. So when somebody comes along and picks it up, they plug it into their mind, and light comes on. Right? Awareness comes on. And it's the same, the artist puts his living consciousness, the creative consciousness of the artist, the creative consciousness, in Buddhism that's called Dharma, or Tao, the Tao, or in Star Wars it's called the Force, okay? So the artist puts his force into a metaphor and puts it on the shelf like batteries. And you pick it up and you can either see it as an it, and oh, it was entertaining and talk about it, yada, 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 or it can be a transformative, and I won't even want to say experience. It'll be a transformative or life-changing event because there has been a transmission from the creator of the metaphor to you directly, you see, so that the creator of the metaphor and you are one. Je suis the creator of the metaphor. So if Christ creates a metaphor like the Eucharist and puts it out there in time, and the church keeps it safe like a battery on the shelf at Walmart, and you come along and you surrender to the Eucharist, and by surrender to the Eucharist, that means you have to surrender your third person domination. See, the third person in our culture is the dominant person. We have to understand that. That's our conditioning. The third person, the it, is the dominant view of our Western scientific rational culture. And it works because we make a lot of stuff. You can't make stuff unless it's an it. Okay? Poets don't make stuff. They make poems. Okay, painters don't make automobiles, they make paintings. Okay, they make metaphors. So a metaphor, a spiritual metaphor, contains in it the living energy of its creator, so that there can be it's a mediator or a bridge or a portal that opens for a direct transmission between you and the Creator. So if you go to the Eucharist as a metaphor and you surrender everything you know, and you surrender all your opinions, you surrender all your its, every single it you've accumulated, every single bit of knowledge, every belief, every doctrine, every creed, the whole catastrophe, and you give it up, and you go there like a little child. You see, that opens up the potential so that you can say, Je suis Christ. If Jesus made the metaphor, then he put it on a shelf. It may be gathering dust. Thousands of years go by until somebody comes along and picks it up, and they're innocent. And they have no preconceived knowledge of what it is. And they're empty. And they pick it up, and the light goes on. The battery turns their light on. And there is a direct transmission, not from Jesus in the past, because the time disappears in the metaphor. It's not like a bridge to the past. That's it thinking. No. Metaphor is timeless. So when like in Hamilton, that's not something that was written 100 years ago. It's active now. So you go to the play, and you go with an empty mind. You go with a virgin mind. And you go with surrender of your separate self, sense of self, your it self. You surrender your it self. You die into the metaphor, into the play. And you become Hamilton as he speaks his word. So the first person, I, that's you, and the third person, that's Hamilton, become a new creation, a new being. You become transformed into a new idea of who you are, an idea of who you are that is a unity of the first and third person. Now your first person is no longer a ghost, a thought, a yearning. The first person is alive. The first person becomes I am. I am alive. I am that, you see. And that is the awakening, in all of the non-dual traditions. In Buddhism, whatever the tradition. It's the awakening of the I am that, the first person. And first person means you are the first person of the universe. You are the Son of God. I talked about that this morning. Now, the Son of God is not an it. You see, this is the thing. The Son of God is not an it. The Son of God is I. I am. You see? There's only one I am, and that's you. But then we live in a world of its. See? So there is a unity of I am, the eternal, timeless I am, and this temporal world of its. So the first person and the third person become one new whole person. A whole person includes first and third person. Inauthenticity, which is the way we live in our world now, everybody wants to, what's authentic? I don't know. What's true? I don't know. What's whole? I don't know. Everything's fragmented. The bread's broken up. The ghost, the self, the I is a ghost in the machine. That's the way science looks at it, because science can't observe consciousness. Science can't observe your I. You see. Because the scientist has an I too. He can't observe his I as an it. So you can't put the first person on a wall and pin the butterfly to it, you see. So I hope you get, you see, and here's my teddy, I'll conclude with this. This is a metaphor. It's factually, it's a teddy bear. But when I was a child, now it's just a teddy bear. But when I was a child, Je suis Teddy. You see, the teddy and I are one. And for the child, the doll, the Raggedy Ann, the doll, it's all je suis. I am that, you see. And then the it world comes in and separates you. And it becomes, it's just a stuffed animal. Grow up, grow up. There is no I. There is no soul. There is no self. There is no God. Grow up. It's all a bunch of its. And we're all just bumping around in here. Survival of the fittest. Who can consume the most? Who can be the most powerful? And then we die. So, thank you for dropping in. And I hope I've pulled this cotton ball a little bit now. I'm going to keep doing it because it takes a long time. It's taken me a long time. I'm 80 years old. It's taken me 80 years. Well, not 80, but ever since I had my teddy bear. 74 years. 76 years. I got it when I was 4. All right. So 74 years trying to understand metaphor. So by sharing my understanding, bit by bit, drop by drop, martini by martini, I hope to expand your life so that you become, with whatever you're doing, je suis that, you see. So if you're with your wife, you're with whatever you're doing, liberation comes when you say you're mowing the lawn. You say, je suis mowing the lawn. I am mowing the lawn. That's what I am. So you become whatever you're doing. There's no more separation. There's no more, I wish I was doing something else. This is crap. See? Je suis crap. You see, when you become what you're doing, you're liberated. There's no more separation from it, no more it thinking. There's a better it for me. There is no better it. This is it. You're it. Thank you for dropping in.